it's not really a problem, I don't think. And he doesn't have any secrets from me either, of course.
There's some secrets I have.
Like what?
Billy is the most powerful person I've ever known.
My mom's the Scarlet Witch. I miss her a lot. All the time.
But his magic is changing. And I'm afraid he'll do something I can't protect him from.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are solely those of the individual speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Beneath the Cowl Podcast, Cosplay Alliance, our partners and affiliates. This episode may contain coarse language and sensitive subject matters. Viewer and listener discretion is advised.
All right, welcome to the Beneath the Cowl podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, and I have a very special guest with me today, Nathaniel Dolquist, the creator of the Hulkling and Wiccan series. How's it going, Nathaniel?
Hey, man, thanks for having me. It's going great. Glad to be here.
Look, I just want to say congratulations on your project. It is amazing. You chose to tackle this iconic relationship with Marvel. I say iconic because it's one of the few like openly gay, well-known relationships. And if you're not familiar with the Hulkling and Wiccan, they're mostly known with the Young Avengers. And yeah, let's talk to the creator. Like, why this story? Why these two characters?
Oh man, what a great question. So I first encountered Hulkling and Wiccan probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I saw some fan art of them and I didn't know who they were. I was just like, oh, these guys look cute. And then they were not in their superhero outfits. They were I was like, oh, some like nice, like gay drawing. We love to see it. And then I saw them again, but Hulkling was green and Wiccan had a big old cape on. And I was like, wait a second, who are these guys? And I did some research and I was kind of like, oh, and realized that not only were they superheroes, but they were in Marvel. They had been around for 20 years and that their relationship is like people just love it. And it's so beautiful and fun and wonderful. And the comic book writers, both Alan and Jim, who created the characters, as well as, further comic book writers, people like Josh Trujillo and all of those guys this gay relationship has been in the comics and in the Young Avengers since the very beginning. And I wanted to make a live action version of it because I wanted more people to see them and see what was going on and just see that this type of relationship is actually, in my opinion, it's ready. It's like ready to go. It's ready to be mainstream. It's ready to be broadcast to a lot of people. It's beautiful and cute. And I am very hopeful that we'll see it in the future.
So we do know that Wiccan, the character, or Billy, was introduced in the MCU, Scarlet Witch's son, in WandaVision.
Mm-hmm.
And we know they're building towards Young Avengers. And finally, they're giving us some of this LGBTQI inclusion with Fastos and with America Chavez's mothers. Do you think we'll see Hulkling introduced with the Young Avengers?
Oh, I hope so. We will see. As most everybody knows, Marvel and Disney are going through quite a bit of change right now, and we'll see what happens. Really, nobody knows. What we do know is that Deadpool and Wolverine is coming out this summer, and that Agatha is coming out this fall, and we'll see. We'll see what happens from there. I am very hopeful for that. The rumor is that the Fantastic Four and the X-Men are going to be a big part of Marvel going forward. But I really, really, really hope that even in the total topsy-turviness that the entertainment industry is going through right now, I hope that the Young Avengers still get their day in the sun and that this relationship is is present in some fashion. But what I hope the most is that it's not just fan service that happens for 2 seconds, or that like if you know what to look for, it's there. I hope it's front and center and that it is celebrated. And I truly believe that if Marvel did that, if they made this relationship really visible, I think people would love them for it. I think that Gen Z and millennials would be all over it. I think it would be a great move on their part. And we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And something that you addressed in this series, which was great, was a lot of people confuse the Hulkling to be like related to the Hulk, which he's not. But you addressed that in a very funny way. I thought it was pretty clever and funny. There are a lot
Indeed.
of comedy. It was a comedy, you know, romance. It was a lot into this series that I liked.
Yeah, I've read their comics, as many of them as I can find or get my hands on. And of course, they're scattered. Hulkling and Wiccan are scattered throughout the Young Avengers comics. And there are a couple of sort of solo comics for them, or couple comics. But I really just wanted to show what a gay relationship, like a happy, kind, ribbing, like a little bit sassy gay relationship can look like. Not just when the two guys are coming out or meeting each other and doing the meet cute and like discovering they have feelings for each other, like in the Heartstopper series, for example. But like, what does it look like down the road a little bit? What does it look like once things have settled and these two guys are still totally in love with each other, but the reality that some of the dishes don't always get done or the trash doesn't always get taken out? What's that reality look like? And how do they navigate that? Because that's what my friends and I are going through now, is like, cute, sexy relationships are great. But the reality is, if you're going to try and spend the rest of your life with this person or have a long-term relationship, then somebody's got to do the dishes. And how do you work that out? And as far as Hulkling not being related to the Hulk, I have always thought that that's hilarious, because he's really not related to the Hulk, like not even close. Like he's from a different alien race. There's no radiation involved, and so I think that was a funny distinction, because I just enjoyed doing that. And you know, all 7 of the episodes that we made were completely improvised. So
that's amazing.
I did not write a formal script. We knew what story beats we were going to hit. We knew what we were going to talk about. So like the Morning Wing episode, like Evan, who plays Wiccan, he and I had talked about like what that would look like, and sort of in the abstract. And then we got in front of the camera and just riffed on it. And then we got,
I was wondering, I was like, who came up with this Morning Wing reference? Because it was hilarious. It was sending me.
Thanks. I got it from there was another piece of art. I think it was a Chris Art panel or somebody. Chris Art's one of the big like Hulkling and Wiccan fan artists. And I saw one of the panels that they had done that was like the difficulties of sleeping in the same bed as Hulkling, because he can transform all the time. And like, if he's having bad dreams, like he can shapeshift and like knock Wiccan out of the bed. And I thought that would be a super real thing that would happen, that you might not consider as part of being in love with and being partnered with another superhero. So
that was hilarious. You and Evan, your chemistry was just amazing. Did you audition? Did you know Evan before this, or like, because the chemistry was there, it was real?
Thank you. Yeah, Evan and I have been friends for a couple years now, since about 2020. And you know, originally I just wanted to like play Hulkling and like embody Hulkling and, you know, find some big green wings somewhere and do a photo shoot or something. And as I talked to my friends, they were like, is that all you want to do? I think you want more than that. I think you want to actually make something. And I thought, well, Hulkling is one thing on his own, but he really needs a Wiccan. And I talked to Evan about it, and he was actually the one who said, why do you just want to do a photo shoot? Like, why are you pulling your punches? Like, why don't you tell the story that you want to tell? And you have the creativity, find a way to make it happen. Tell the story that you want to tell. Involve yourself with these characters and see what happens. And he thankfully was free the week that we wanted to do it. And we all went to Las Vegas and shot it there. And he was great. And we read the comics together, and we like did little improv sessions as Hulkling and Wiccan, and like just kind of felt out what that relationship would be like, and just had a really good time. And what we always wanted to come back to is that in like gay guys make fun of each other all the time. There's definitely a sassiness aspect to a lot of gay relationships. But what was really important to me is that we show that the very deep core of this relationship through and through was love, and was true companionship, love, support for the other person. And that when push comes to shove, the sassiness goes away, and it's, I've got you. We're going to be okay. And we're going to do this together. And I think that type of relationship is missing from the superhero genre in general, not just Marvel, but DC as well. That like, watching people, you know, destroy aliens and like have superpowers is super cool. But what I believe that people are hungry for now is real relationships, and something that's relatable, and something that they can see and be like, oh, that's really cool. And
I
I
agree.
just, yeah. So we'll see. My hope is that there will be life for it beyond this, but we will see what happens.
So you're looking forward to maybe continuing the story?
Oh, I wrote it already.
Oh, okay.
It's written, it's ready to go. What remains to be seen is if I can get the attention of some people who can make it bigger. And we're in the process, so we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know that you're a Yale graduate.
I am indeed.
And is your background in acting? Did you act while there?
Yeah, I have a theater degree from Yale, and
Okay.
you know, one of the things that I have learned during this process is that those skills have really come back, because most actors, you know, audition and get a role or don't get a role, and it feels like luck of the draw, kind of. You just like take your skills into the room and do what you can. But I wanted to make something, and I had a story that I wanted to tell with a perspective on it. And what I learned at Yale came into play more than it maybe ever has before in my life, of how to collaborate, how to be creative, how to incorporate other people's good ideas. Because I had a lot of friends who were like, what if you did, like, it was not originally my idea to do the like candid cam, like Modern Family interview thing. And that was Evan's idea and my director's idea. They had the same idea separately. And I was like, all right, got it. Understood. Let's do it. And that wound up being most of the series and the most fun part to film. So, that was where we were able to really show the relationship. So it was a lot of fun. And I love collaborating with people and hearing other good ideas and being like, oh, that's better than my idea. Let's do that.
That's actually amazing. I love how collaborations can just work when you find the people that you really work well with, and you can build this universe, this world. And did you have a background in production? Is this the first thing you've produced?
It is not the first thing I've produced. It is the first thing I have perhaps produced from beginning to end, successfully gotten it where I wanted it to go. You know, production, when you don't have a family fortune or a giant like nest of cash somewhere, is incredibly difficult. But from the outset, I said anybody who is professionally involved in this project is going to get paid. And it wasn't $1 million, I'll tell you that, but it was not zero. And I feel very strongly that if I want professional grade quality stuff, then I need to pay professionals. And the little secret is that there are people everywhere with enough professional expertise that they could be working for Marvel. They could be in the studio system. They could have 40-hour-a-week editing jobs at big, humongous companies. And some of them do. But there just aren't enough jobs. There's just not enough slots. Doesn't mean those people aren't sufficiently talented to do it. And so I found people who, in my opinion, could walk into a studio tomorrow. We just haven't had the opportunity yet.
Agreed. Very much agree with you, especially if you're in the LA area.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, you had this whole nice premiere for the series. How was that? How was the energy, the buzz? I mean, putting that together, what emotions did you go through?
Oh man, what a great question. Yeah, I actually, that idea was one of my coach's ideas. He was like, "You should have a premiere. You should host a premiere in LA." And I was like, "Oh." And the thing is that when I have a creative idea and I know what I want it to be, it's really difficult for me to accept anything less than sort of the max of what I can do. So I had some ideas for smaller premieres, inviting fewer people, making it a little bit less like, capital P premiere. But I really wanted to throw a party for my friends. And the thing that yes, I wanted to show them Hulkling and Wiccan, and I invited all these people and friends of mine, industry people, Marvel people, none of whom came, by the way. But it was also Oscar weekend, so good job me on
Okay.
scheduling. But the reason I threw that premiere is because my artistic friends who are so talented and are great actors, great technicians, great people who could walk onto a studio lot tomorrow and do the job blindfolded. It's been really hard for everybody in the entertainment industry who isn't already in it, and also for people who are already in it and have consistent work there. But I wanted to gather all the people that I care about and all the people whose work that I love, or as many of them as I could get to come, in one room and say, we can do it. And even we are the next generation of art makers, no matter what the system looks like, no matter what the business or the economics of it looks like. I mean, maybe this era of Hollywood and TV is over and it's going to look really different going forward. There's new technology. There's all kinds of new things that we're going to have to adapt to, but that doesn't mean that our storytelling abilities are diminished. And I wanted to get all those people in a room and say, I want to treat you the way that I think that you deserve to be treated, which is invitations to premieres, red carpets, open bars, and a chance to dress up and look great. And it was wonderful. It was stressful to get it going, but my family helped. They came. I went to a mannequin warehouse north of LA and was in a room full of literally hundreds of mannequins. It was out of a horror movie for sure. And I had a blast. It was so much fun. I got the red carpet. I did this whole thing. I hired videographers and did it because I want us to get used to that world because that's what's coming. And it was really fun. We had a really good time.
Amazing. I had a couple friends that were at the event, and they said it was really all about love, and it was very empowering.
Yeah, I think that, Hollywood, understandably, people have this conception that it's a bunch of egomaniacs out there to make as much money as they can and make things that are going to sell, whether or not they're good or tell good stories or are good art. And I feel like it's my job to change that. I can't do it alone, but I can make sure that my life is emblematic of how I want it to work. And that means that people get compensated properly. Because what people don't understand is that if an artist is not preoccupied with having to choose whether or not they're going to buy the less expensive can of beans at the store, they have the ability to actually do what they're good at if they're not stressed about how they're going to eat or pay their rent. And that is not rocket science, that if people are well taken care of, they can actually do what they're good at. And so I truly believe that if we can pay artists more and make creating art more feasible for people, then we'll be able to hear new voices and we'll be able to really stoke creativity and collaborate more because people don't have to worry about surviving as much. So it's
Yes.
really important to me. And I think that we need to make that change. And I think that my generation of artists is capable of it. We just have to put our money where our mouth is and stay true to that. So
Amazing. I love that. I love that mindset. And speaking of working with people, so who directed this and how did you meet them and how did you pitch them to come on board? Because they did a really good job.
oh yeah, my friend Luca, he directed it, and Luca Benton is his name, And he and I met because when I moved to LA, I have a bunch of Shakespeare fight training from Yale, but I didn't have a lot of like action hero fight training. And so I got to LA and I was like, who fights the way that I want to learn how to fight? And I looked up the fight studios in LA and I found Tim Weskey's studio and he did Pirates of the Caribbean. And I was like, sold. I'm ready. Let's do it. Teach me how to fight like Pirates of the Caribbean. And Luca is one of his sort of apprentices. And so we started working together about once a week, like doing some fight stuff. I shot a couple of little short films with him. And he is a huge nerd just like me. He's been at Comic-Con with me and WonderCon with me. And we just love sci-fi and fantasy. We love it. We love the bigness of it. We love the storytelling of it. We love the way that it tells stories and the characters and how the costumes and how fun everything can be. And we're just big old nerds. He's taller than me. He's like 6'4". So he is like Jason Momoa sized. And so when we're together, it's like it's a presence because I'm 6'2" and he's like 6'4". So we're quite the presence together and have a good time fighting. And I have a hard time practicing with people because I'm so tall. So, you know, it's nice to have a fight partner who's my size. We can actually like hit each other properly.
That's amazing.
So, yeah. And I got him on board. I was like, you want to do this superhero project with me? I'll fly you to Vegas and like pay you and we'll just like have a good time. He's like, yeah. So we did it.
Love it. And speaking of WonderCon, I got a chance to see your Hulkling cosplay in person and wow, really nailed it. Really, I feel like embodied the character.
Thanks, man. You know, the wings are 12 feet across. So when they're open, it's big. And as far as I could tell, I'm sure there are other people with big wings at WonderCon that I didn't see. Wing cosplays are really tough because you literally have to carry a heavy backpack with like machine parts on it all day. But it's a lot of fun to have the wings. And as much as I love taking photos and taking videos with photographers and talking to other cosplayers and stuff, my favorite part is when little kids see the wings open. Like, because people will bring their tiny children and they'll say, can you do the wings? I'm like, yeah. And I'll like show them what it looks like when they open. And these little kids, I mean, they've just like never seen anything like it. I have a hard time describing like how wonderful it makes me feel to like see a kid be like, oh my God, that's so cool. Cause that is the feeling that got me into this when I was 5, you know, or when I was 10. That feeling of awe and of like, this is amazing that is what has guided my whole life. And so to have the opportunity to, you know, at least create a place where that can happen. Well, I mean, obviously I don't know if that experience will change a kid's life or not, but at least I've had the opportunity to contribute in the way that other people contributed to my, you know, love of this genre and this stuff. So
amazing. And who made that cosplay? Did you make that yourself?
Oh God, no. There are some unbelievably talented people in this world who make their own cosplays. And to be quite honest, I am simply floored and in awe by their skill set. I just think it's absolutely incredible. I have neither the time nor the skill to create such amazing things. So my wings were made by a studio in Vietnam who actually, they had a lot of pieces at WonderCon. There was a Princess Peach dress that they made. There's a Princess Daisy dress that they made. It's Molly Nguyen, I think is how you pronounce it. But I found her on Etsy. She's one of the only Etsy people who does animatronic wings. And I knew I wanted big old wings that could open like with a remote control. And she made them, and her work is exquisite. And I'm so happy for that studio because they're really exploding right now. Like even in just the last 6 months, they're doing super well. And the stuff that they create is extraordinary off of pictures. I sent them 2 pictures, comic book pictures of Hulkling. And she like looked at the wings and designed them and just did it. And I was like, wow, like that is its own form of art to be able to look at a picture and be like, this is how I'm making that out of steel, fabric, and wire. Like, wow.
Okay, I'm gonna get that information from you later.
Oh yeah, her stuff is so cool. I mean, she can make anything. And they even made recently, they made a pair of those wings for a horse. So it was even bigger. I have not seen the pictures of the wings on the horse, but I think they're probably 18 feet or something like that. I mean, they're bigger than mine. They're Pegasus,
Oh,
literal Pegasus wings.
I have to see that.
Yeah,
I have to
unbelievable.
see that.
I mean, how cool is that? Like,
Oh my
I love living in 2024 when like there's a studio that you can pay money to create a pair of unfolding wings for your horse.
Just amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
I was also impressed with the VFX. We get to like the dark hold scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who did that VFX work? The lighting, the VFX.
You know, the lighting was my director and my director of photography, who's also a gaffer. So that was the team. A lot of the lighting stuff in the studio that I rented in Las Vegas already had all that stuff set up, which was super great. The haze and the lights and all of that stuff. And in LA, they've got lots of studios like that too. Who knew? They're not even that expensive to rent. I was very pleasantly surprised. But the special effects were done by, I got on Fiverr and interviewed a couple of people and selected a studio as a team of 10 guys, I think, who are in the Middle East somewhere. And I paid them and they did a fantastic job. I am very exacting and really need a lot of detail. I pay people so that, you know, I'm not trying to like stretch people too thin, but I'm like, no, this is what I need. And it took over a month. I mean, it took them several weeks to put it together. And then I had some edits that we put in, but I thought they did a fantastic job. And when people wonder why it takes so long to make these action movies or why the special effects either look really amazing or don't look really amazing, it's because it's an absolute art form. And to be totally honest, I feel like I got really lucky finding this studio, and that they were able to take the job. Because, you know, these folks in Hollywood who do the special effects, man, that is a full-time job. That lots of respect for those people because it is not easy. And there's a lot of detail and a lot of frame by frame, pixel by pixel work that they have to do. It is very detailed. And I'm glad that other people possess that skill set because I do not. So
It takes a lot of work. I've tried my hand at certain things. At one point I wanted to do like a space short and start working in the 3D program. And just to do like 3 seconds, it took me maybe, I don't know, months. Just I'm like, this is crazy.
yeah, it's crazy. Because if you want it to look good, if you want it to look real, you have to do it. You can't, there's no half-assing allowed. Like if you really want people to not notice that it is fake, not fake, but computer generated, that is how much work it takes. And, you know, AI is getting better at doing it and the artists can use AI. I was really impressed through the process, the way that many of my artists were deploying AI to help their work. And it wasn't replacing them, but it was making it faster and easier for them to do what they knew how to do artistically. And so, you know, the whole industry is really freaking out, rightfully so, about AI and how it's going to affect production and these types of things. But with both my special effects folks and my sound engineers, they were able to deploy it as a tool that helped them do it faster and more efficiently, which I'm all in favor of. But I like it when artists are using AI and not AI replacing artists. That's not what we want. But the technological tools that we have now are faster and cheaper and better than they've ever been, which is pretty extraordinary.
It is.
Yeah.
So what was, I guess you kind of talk about why you did this, but what was your goal for this series and did you achieve it? And what's the response been?
Well, the response has made everything worth it. And even before I shot anything, even before the idea was, well, that's not true. We had shot it, but I hadn't edited it. I hadn't really even looked through the footage yet. I was at LA Comic-Con and had posted some behind the scenes photos and a couple of pictures and things. And people, these gay guys came up to me in tears and they were like, we are so grateful that you made this, because we never ever thought anybody would be brave enough to tell this story. And I finally see myself. And that meant more to me than I can possibly express. And it only escalated from there. I mean, at WonderCon, people were coming up to me while I was Hulkling, while I was green, and when I was not green, when I was just, in disguise as myself, and saying, this meant so much to me. And I loved every second of it. The greatest criticism I've received is that it's too short, which I humbly accept. That is a very valid criticism. And because I funded it myself, I worked at my own day job and saved my own money for a year to be, and forwent a lot of other things I would have liked to do in order to have enough money to produce this the way that I wanted it done. And my hope is that the next time I do that, it won't be my own money. That is the next goal. But I wanted it to do a couple of things. And mostly I wanted to tell the story and have it written on my own body, so that if and when they cast somebody else's Hulkling, I will have been able to be a part of that story and contribute to that character and that visibility in some way. But I also wanted to show Marvel that people love these characters, and that if they are looking for something that's going to get people back, that's going to make people excited about it again, this is the way. I am convinced that this is it. I think that people want to love Marvel. I think they do love Marvel. And I think that they've had an extraordinary run doing things the way they were doing it. And that doing something creative, something a little riskier, little opportunity, like an opportunity, in doing it well and doing it in a way that honors the fans and tells and like puts the story and the relationship above everything else. I think that's the way. And I would like to point out that I think X-Men 97 proves my point, because people are freaking over the moon about X-Men 97. I completely love it. I think it's so great, and it's different and wacky and risky and exciting and fun. And I hope that Marvel takes note, and that the answer isn't necessarily more animated stuff. It's stuff that focuses on characters going through something that people are excited to watch. And it doesn't have to be, this ultra interconnected arcs across 15 shows, because people don't have time and they don't want to do the homework. And so I wanted to show them that something that's really episodic and comedic and maybe doesn't take itself quite so seriously. It has its serious moments for sure, but something that's about people being in love with each other is something that people will sit down and watch. And that I really accomplished that. I feel it really exceeded what I hoped would happen. And I'm very grateful. I'm grateful to my team and to everybody I'm like emotional about it, to everybody who told me that they loved it, everybody who watched it, everybody who commented on it, and people who came up to talk to me about it. Like it means the world to me. And I want to do more. I want to make more, because I love this. I love it so much. And I'm like really emotional about it. I want to keep doing it. That's what I want. I want to keep doing it. And I want to make things that not for the goal of them being important to people, but it's important to me. And so, like it's important to me. And so I want to do it in a way that I feel honors the material, what has been already created by other artists that I love. And I think that I have a fun way to do it and a fun outlook on it. And I hope there's more. I really do.
And I think you're right. I think like being able to see more content that people can identify with, like X-Men, I think a lot of people identify with the struggle, the things that they experience. And I think that people will identify with Hulkling and Wiccan in that same sort of vein, right? So speaking of which, though, do you have a fan cast? You can include yourself for the Hulkling.
Oh yeah. Well, I met Joe Locke in New York last week, I went to see him in Sweeney Todd. I had a couple friends in it, and I got to meet him very briefly afterward. And all I'm saying is we are the right heights. Okay. Just throwing that out there. We are the right heights. Could totally work. What I would love so much is for some young people who are hilarious, who are ready to play and have a good time, to be able to get together and make a series of the Young Avengers that is fun to watch and that everybody is having fun making. And that's what I wrote. That's what I wrote. That's what I'm going to pitch. They've already cast a lot of the kids, a lot of the young adults who would be in that. And, nobody knows if they've cast a Hulkling yet or not. Is it Kit Connor? Maybe. Who knows? Like, that would be great. So be it. As much as I have talked about this with my therapist, okay, as much as I would love to play Hulkling and I want so badly to embody that story, what's more important to me is that this relationship and these characters are in the world in the best possible way, in a way that makes people's hearts fly to them. And if that's me, I would love that. If it's not me, that is okay. As long as this opportunity for not just queer people, but I have also really had some wonderful conversations with people who are neurodivergent, people in the neurodivergent community. They identify with these characters too. And there are so many people now who identify as queer, so many people who identify as neurodivergent, that these stories deserve to be told because that's who we are now. And it's right there. It is literally right there. It's just waiting for somebody to make something amazing out of it. And, the X-Men have always been queer coded, right? Like whether or not they are queer or not, or, have same-sex relationships or have different gender identities is like almost not important because it's queer whether it wants to be or not. That's one of the best things. That's one of the best things about it, because it actually doesn't matter how the character identifies if the person sees themselves in it.
Exactly.
If they're good enough stand-in for somebody else's experience. That's what I think. And I think we need to do a better job of letting characters just be people and not shoehorning, because it's complex. Gender identity is really complex. Sexuality is really complex. So, and relationships are really complex. Yes. And that's the reality of it. I think people would flock to something that showed and honored the complexity and excitement and difficulty of what it's actually like to be alive right now and be in relationships with people and try to figure out how we're going to contribute to society and live our lives and have our families and have jobs that we don't hate and make enough money to live the way it is now. I want to make it. That's what I want. I want to try, and I want to find other people who also want to try and who have great voices and great perspectives that are different than, and I won't say better than mine, because how is one perspective better than another, but different perspectives. That's what real diversity is. And unfortunately, it's people with different perspectives who are collaborating together to create something that's more than the sum of its parts. It's not how many people of different skin colors or gender identities or sexual orientations do you have on the team. That is a way to, it's a better way to get there. I think we need that. But I want to find teams just like the X-Men, just like the Young Avengers, of people who are diverse in the way they see the world and have different experiences and different ways of being alive that we can all bring together to create something that makes everybody feel seen, or as many people as possible.
I agree. I think it's a total sum of all the different lived experiences that people have, right? That you want to incorporate.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I think that if we do that, I think that the art that comes out, if it's marketed well, and if these studios who are struggling so much can get behind it and not be afraid and put it out there, I think is the renaissance that we're looking for. That's, I think, what we need. But the only way to know is to try. So you got to find people who are brave enough to try.
So I just wanted to ask a couple of questions to wrap this up.
Yeah.
So as a Black creator, I know sometimes you face negativity online and things like that, as well as I have friends that are trans, that are also queer, and there are different things that people, you face negativity. Have you faced any of the negativity for the project, and how do you deal with that?
What a great question. Almost none, to my great surprise, to be honest. There have been some, negative comments, and people are like, "Oh, you're ruining Marvel." I'm like, "This is Marvel. I'm not ruining Marvel. It's been here for 20 years." But to be fair, I also did my best to make this project reach people who would like it or for whom it was made. But some of the negative comments are pretty easy to ignore, honestly, because it's not a tirade and it's not a ton of negativity. And I have created projects in the past that have gotten that, and it's pretty brutal. But on the other hand, the positive comments, what people have been saying about it, people have gone out of their way to comment on the YouTube videos, on the Instagram videos, and say such lovely things. And it is not lost on me that how much effort those folks have gone to say such lovely things. I really appreciate it. My old ballet teacher used to say that when he had this idea of contraforce, which is that when you push down, you also have to push up in ballet. So if you just push down, you'll collapse. And if you just push up, you'll fall over because you don't have the connection between those two things. And what he would say is that when bad things happen, there is a contraforce of the people who are there to do good things getting riled up to do the good things. And that when bad stuff happens, there is an equal and opposite reaction of people who will fight against it. And what I have seen as this process has unfolded is I have seen people who want to create more things like this, who want this to succeed, have been vocal about it. And that has been magical to watch. And because everybody's out there. There are people of all different races and gender identities and sexual orientations and neurodivergence who are super ready if they're given the chance. And they're also really supportive of other people who are doing their best to make it happen with what they've got. And I am so grateful for those people. And I think that we are the people who have to make it. We have to go do it. Whether or not it feels like we will succeed. Because if we don't do it, who's going to do it?
And great answer. One final question. Do you have any advice for anyone? Because you've done this whole process for creating in inception and creating something and being successful at it. Do you have any advice for other people who just to take that step, to take that leap?
Yeah. It doesn't have to be expensive. You do not have to save up money for a year to do it. Grab your phone and go make stuff. And it would also be to, like, as you're developing a skill set, what has helped me so much is just to follow my curiosity. I was curious about circus and about flying through the air. And so I started doing circus, and it became a huge part of my life that I really, really love. And now I have a bunch of friends in Las Vegas, which is where I shot this with the help of my friends in Las Vegas. And following curiosity is a really easy way to make sure you'll enjoy it. Because if you're doing something because you feel like you have to, you got to hope it's short. Because if you're doing it just because you feel like you have to, it's going to be a grueling road. But if you're doing something because you're curious and you want to know more and you want to enjoy what you're doing, you just keep following that and see what happens. And also finding people who are not just going to support you, but who are going to really stand by you. And that's hard to do. And it doesn't always work out. And, if you're having trouble with people flaking, I will say making sure that people get paid is a good way to prevent flaking. And you have to be a business person about it. And you can't just give people money up front because they can just run away. And you can't pay them late or they'll never work with you again. So you have to be smart about do this and you'll get paid this much on this day. And if you can, that usually smooths most things out, to be honest, because then you have a contract, you have an agreement, and people feel like they're being adequately compensated. So they're willing to give you what they said they were going to give you. So it's a delicate balance. But as a producer, I always make sure everybody gets paid on time and in full. And hopefully that means they'll want to work with me again. And I set the expectations really early. This is what I need, and this is how much money I can pay for it. Is that okay? And then if they say yes, they said yes. So no complaining. This is the money you're going to get for the job you said you were going to do. And I told you I was going to need 3 rounds of edits. So here we are. And if I need more, I'll pay you more. But this is what you said. So this is what you got to do. And there's a lot of fear. There's always fear around making something new and putting oneself out there and not knowing if people are going to think it's a good idea or not. I didn't know what was going to happen with this. I thought Marvel was going to send me a cease and desist. I thought that I would spend all this money and never be able to put it on the internet. And they didn't. The whole thing's up. Everybody got to see it. And I'm really grateful for that, because that I wasn't sure. I thought I might spend, tens of thousands of dollars of my own money making this, and it would get shot down and I'd be silenced. And that didn't happen. So I'm very grateful for that.
Well, that's excellent advice. Thank you for your time, Nathaniel. You want to tell everyone where they can find you on social media and where they can watch the series?
For sure. Thanks, Chris. Yeah. So my Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube are all the same. It's at Nathaniel Dahlquist, NathanielDolquist. I will say I recommend watching them on YouTube. I have them on my Instagram, but the YouTube videos, if you want to blow them up and watch them on a screen, I got a good enough camera for that to work. So, there's a playlist there. You can watch them all in order. It's only 11.5 minutes total. It's a short thing. So hopefully we'll see some longer episodes in the future.
Thank you. And I highly recommend everyone checking it out. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me. Awesome.
All right. Can you
I gotcha. Hey man, that was a
Okay.
blast. Thank you so much, dude.
Oh, thank you. That was really a